Questions to the Infrastructure Minister, and I call Robbie Butler. Minister.
Thank the member for his question. During the financial year, the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024, my department received 4,878 roads-related vehicle damage claims. I should explain, however, that although my department has a statutory duty under Article 8 of the Roads Order 1993 to maintain public roads, there is no automatic entitlement to compensation. My department investigates and defends public liability claims, with every case turning on its own facts. In cases where officials believe the department can raise a legal offence, claims will be defended. Since April 2019, there has been an upward trend in the number of roads-related public liability claims received by my department. During the financial year of the 1st of April 2022 to the 31st of March 2023, 3,599 roads-related claims were received for property damage, personal injury and vehicle damage, whereas upon the financial year, the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024, 5,643 claims were received.
Mr. Butler.
I thank the Minister for his detailed answer, and I'm sure he will agree with me that there's a worrying trend here. Would the Minister agree with me that it's not just the road deterioration, but perhaps, and maybe he could update us in terms of his work to look at the quality of repairs, which don't seem to be lasting these days, and certainly my inboxes in the MLA is receiving more and more worries in that regard.
Minister.
Thank you. Repairs are inspected due to resources implications. Not all repairs are inspected. I think it's around 5% of repairs are inspected. There's two phases to repairs at the moment. Once a pothole is reported or a fault is reported to my department, particularly through the web link, then when that is allocated to the contractor, if it's a private contractor, the private contractor then takes liability for that damage. They then go out and carry out an almost immediate repair, a quick fix. They then have to return and carry out a full repair to that pothole to ensure it meets the standards of my department. But I am aware of concerns raised by members and members of the public around the state of some repairs, and it is an issue I'm discussing with my officials.
Deborah Erskine.
I thank the Minister for his answers so far. Recently, the Minister did provide evidence just in relation to private investigators investigating certain incidences. Can he tell us exactly the extent to the private investigators? Is it personal injury or is it in relation to vehicle damage? And when his department employs those people?
Minister.
Thank you. It's in the cases of personal injury claims, and it's usually those where there is a higher claim involved. And it's only done on the basis of legal advice. It's not within every case. I have no role in it, for instance. It's down to legal advice, and then officials will take on board that legal advice as they prepare a defence to a claim, whether a private investigator is required or not.
Mark Durkin.
And I thank the Minister for his answers thus far. I want to bring the Minister back to a pothole that was raised here in the chamber before. It's the notorious Northland Road crater, a pothole that caused damage to a significant number of vehicles, but now owners of those damaged vehicles are being passed from pillar to post between DFI and Northern Ireland Water. Could I ask the Minister, should I follow up with written correspondence to him, that he'll have a look at this case, that these motorists aren't penalised due to a lack of any department taking responsibility?
Minister.
I'm more than happy for the member to write to me in relation to that case, and I'll ask my officials to look into it to make sure that proper procedures are being followed.
That's in.
The construction of the new Belfast Grand Central Station is progressing well, with the first phase due to be operational in the autumn of this year. The new station, including the associated public realms works, will be fully completed by the end of 2025. When completed, Belfast Grand Central Station will be the largest integrated transport facility on the island. It will double the number of rail and bus stands and will cater for around 20 million passengers per year. In comparison to the present station, accommodates approximately 7 million passengers. In advance of the opening, the scale of the project means that there will be some disruption to existing rail services and road closures to accommodate the works required. Throughout that time, TransLink will keep their customers updated, and Belfast will remain open for business. The new station will include the Enterprise service, which will bring cross-border passengers into the heart of the city, with a new hourly service to increase our connections north and south. The new station will help transform public transport by improving connectivity to support a modern, confident vision for Belfast and act as a gateway to the entire island of Ireland.
Mr. Sheehan.
Could the Minister tell us how this new transport hub or station, whatever it's called, will help in getting people out of their cars and on the public transport?
Minister.
Thank the member for his question. As part of the outlined business case for the new station, it was forecast that bus and rail passengers will increase by 32% by 2030 in comparison to the year 2015. As passenger numbers rise, my department will continue to keep the schedule of services under review as part of the review of TransLink's performance under the Public Service Agreement. The revision of any schedule of services will need to consider the availability of funding and how best to increase the use of public transport at that time. But I think the station, while planned a number of years ago, does fit into the broader objectives of the Executive and indeed this House in terms of tackling the climate emergency, because we are going to have a state-of-the-art station right in the middle of Belfast, which will allow passengers not only to travel in and out of Belfast in comfort, but also to travel other destinations as well.
Jonathan Buckley.
Mr. Speaker, is the Minister in a position that he could outline the expected total cost of delivery of Belfast Grand Central Station and whether there will be an anticipated or expected overspend?
Minister.
Thank you. The full business case was approved in November 2021 at a total cost of $295 million. The latest cost estimate is $340 million, which, as the member will be aware, is a $45 million higher than the estimated cost. The vast majority of this cost increase is due to extraordinary inflation that is impacted upon in all major capital projects. The project is due to be completed by Q4 2025, which is in line with the date indicated in the approved full business case.
Paula Bradshaw.
Minister, for your answer so far. We're all very excited about this development in South Belfast. It really is very impressive when you get down to visit it. Minister, you mentioned the word connectivity there, and I would appreciate if you could give us an insight into how this would connect with the forthcoming South Belfast corridor of the glider. Thank you.
Minister.
All transport plans within the Belfast area are obviously aware that the new station is opening and the opportunities it provides. So the other transport services, whether it be the glider, whether it be Metro, whether it be Ulster Bus, are all connected in some way or another to the new station to have an integrated travel solution.
Matthew O'Toole.
Speaker, Minister, I am hugely excited about Grand Central. Indeed, I welcome its development and pay tribute to the work of previous Minister, as well as yourself, Nicola Mallon, on delivering it. Given we hope to have the Euros at a newly built Casement Park in a few years' time, are you looking at additional capacity to serve the Euros and indeed extra services from Grand Central into Balmoral and Finaghy to allow passengers to alight from there and go to the matches?
Minister.
Yes, and in regards plans such as that would be an operational matter for TransLink, but I am aware, and obviously they are aware of the huge opportunities that the Euros bring and the influx of people that will bring into our city, and we want to ensure that they have public transport solutions, whether that be coming into Belfast Grand Central or in terms of the glider and metro services that are also available. So there will be connectivity and plans in place for that hugely beneficial event, whether it's to Belfast or indeed across the north.
Ray Carroll.
The Executive have made commitments to improving the visibility of Irish language. Activists and campaigners can't be expected to play whack-a-mole and fit every new building on a case-by-case basis. Will you give a commitment to ensuring a directive is issued to TransLink to implement bilingual signage at all transport centres, including Weaver's Cross?
Minister.
My understanding is that I don't have the authority to issue a directive, but I have been engaging, and my officials have been engaging with TransLink in relation to this matter. I think there's an opportunity here for this state-of-the-art railway station to have all the languages which represent the communities which it serves. And I've encouraged TransLink to do that, but it is a decision for TransLink. I am reviewing my own department's Irish language policy and ensuring that it is in line with European Charter for Minority Languages and the upcoming Languages and Culture Act to ensure that we're leading the way on that. But I think it comes back to many aspects of planning, and we have to ensure from the outset that we're catering for all the communities our services are there for. And unfortunately, I think there was a missed opportunity at the start, but I think there's also an opportunity to catch up.
Kelly Armstrong. Minister.
1 second, sorry. So apologies. The 48% target quoted in the Climate Act for 2030 is a target across all the climate sectors and is not a transport sector specific target. There is no specific targets figures set for the transport sector. My department has been working closely with DERA and other departments on the preparation of a transport chapter and supporting quantification work required for the Climate Action Plan. That will outline how the transport sector will contribute to carbon budgets. Through this detailed work my officials and I realise how challenging these targets will be for the transport sector, particularly regarding the scale of change needed. Decarbonising transport will require us all to think differently about how we travel and how we utilise zero emissions technologies. However, as the department lead for the transport sector, which is the second largest emitting sector, I am working with my officials to better understand how we can decarbonise the transport sector in a balanced way and contribute to the interim targets and the net zero goal of 2050. My officials are currently developing a strong evidence base to inform the development of both the Climate Action Plan and the Transport Sectoral Plan in line with the requirements under the 2022 Act.
Ms Armstrong.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, a part of the transport sector is private cars. Can the Minister confirm how he's going to commit to exploring push policies that discourage private car usage in Belfast and other city centres and indeed large towns across Northern Ireland?
Minister.
Well, I think in response to the previous question in relation to Grand Central Station, there we have a state-of-the-art facility coming on board, which would encourage, and I would encourage people to modal shift and start using public transport. There is going to be a challenge in Belfast over the next number of weeks and months as a result of that development, and there's an opportunity now for users of private cars for a modal shift onto public transport. TransLink will be providing more information on this as this situation develops, and the clear message there is that Belfast is open for business, but we do want to ensure modal shift. I am looking at all options available to me to ensure that my department reaches its climate change targets in line with its legal obligations and indeed its moral obligations, and working in conjunction with my executive colleagues.
Nicola Brogan.
Can the Minister describe what the Department's approach is to decarbonising the transport system?
Minister.
The member will be aware of the recent announcement in terms of Police Plus, where we will be investing in an hourly service between Belfast and Dublin. That has been planned in a way where we'll be able to change those train sets to fully decarbonised transport systems moving forward. We are investing heavily in TransLink in bringing forward zero emissions and lower emission bus transport there as well. That investment programme has gone on over a number of years, and I intend to continue doing that. We want to see a change in terms of the private car user where possible. And as a member who represents a rural constituency, you'll only be too acutely aware that families and businesses rely heavily on private cars, but we want to ensure that we move to a situation where the vehicles they are driving are zero-emission vehicles as well.
Keith Buchanan.
Thanks, Minister, so far for your answers. Minister, staying on the emissions theme, as we speak, the transport sector are sitting in Cookstown waiting to get through it. Lorries and cars. This could take approximately 30 minutes. As the public information scheme is on today, will you commit to delivering the Cookstown bypass or bring the train?
Well, I think there's opportunities in both elements. The All-Ireland Strategic Rail Network plan will be published hopefully in the early summer, and I would hope that will also allow for greater public connections in that area. But yes, the members, as stated, there is a public event on in Cookstown today. I would encourage as many local people to attend that and express their views to that. I have made a commitment to delivering a solution in that area. I want to hear the views of the public coming back to me in relation to the current plan before making a final decision on it. But there is huge opportunities in relation to that bypass, which then will allow a historic town like Cookstown to look at its active travel routes within the town, how it place plans within the town, and make it more attractive. I'm not suggesting for 1 second it's not attractive before you jump on me, to shoppers and to others.
Altsy Malone. Minister.
My department does not produce a live count of planning consultation data in its published statutory consultation performance reports at present. However, my department's statisticians will consider options for for the production of live consultation reports going forward. The information available at this time confirms that NI Water has returned 85% or more of its statutory responses within the 21-day target in 4 of the last 5 published annual performance reports, and reported its best performance to date, 97% of the responses in time in 21-22. This level of performance has been achieved despite a high number of consultation requests, with approximately 3,500 received per year during this time.
Mr. Midlone.
I thank the Minister for that detail. Perhaps if we could establish if there is more around the level of delay that's been experienced by some people. But in a previous debate, the Minister did refer to the need for or the use of pre-application discussions. Is the Minister aware, or can the Minister commit to extra resources within NI Water to facilitate that?
Minister.
That would be an operational decision for NI Water, but in defence of NI Water, they are also facing severe financial constraints, as all other public services are, and are trying to deal with the pressures that brings to bear. Though I have to say, yes, the pre-application discussions are vitally important. Also vitally important, and this has come up time and time again in terms of discussions around planning applications, the quality of the initial planning application is vitally important as well, because there's quite a significant percentage of time of returns to the applicant because either an original application doesn't have the information contained, it's not clear, there's missing submissions, etc. So I would encourage anyone who is submitting a planning application to have it fully outlined as much as possible. That will speed up their application and will make the work of the statutory consultees, such as NI Water, much easier.
Stephen Dunn.
Would the Minister agree that there does need to be some form of penalty or sanction for these statutory bodies who do not meet targets within planning consultation responses, given the adverse impact that these delays are having on new development and investment in Northern Ireland?
Minister.
With respect to the member, I think it'd be robbing Peter to pay Paul, because we're taking the money out of the public purse. All the statutory consultees are publicly funded, so we will be fining them and taking money off them, making their job much more difficult. All the statutory consultees are under-resourced and understaffed. Now, I am looking at, in terms of my budget, to see how I can support those organisations underneath my control, to see if we can support them in that way. We're also involved in the planning improvement process. And as I said to Mr McGlone, I think it's vitally important that planning applications are properly fulfilled before they're submitted. And we are looking now at bringing forward legislation in relation to the validation list as well, learning lessons from Belfast City Council as well. So there is a number of measures taking place which I think will continue to see improvement in planning. I'm not convinced that fining government bodies is the way forward.
Mr McHugh.
Thank you, Minister, and for your statements this far. In relation to planning, and that where we know that time very often is of the essence, could you detail what has been done with Northern Ireland Water in order to speed up its response times to planning consultations?
Minister.
In June 2021, NI Water introduced new responses to the planning processes. These provided a more robust response to the planners, but also provided more information to inform the planners in NI Water's decision-making process. As has been said by Mr McGlone and others, developers should always use the pre-development inquiry process and follow NI Water's 3-step pre-development process. And importantly for developers, PDEs are valid for 18-month period from issue. The pre-development inquiry enables issues to be considered at an early stage with the aim of resolving them.
John Blair.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I want to ask if the Minister agrees that there are significant economic constraints due to water and wastewater infrastructure issues raised at planning stage, and I'm thinking in particular of town centre regeneration and the fact that there are such restrictions being placed upon converting premises for hospitality purposes, for example, and that this matter needs urgent attention.
Minister.
Yes, and there are definitely challenges in relation to the financial framework within which NI Water has to operate. I'm doing my best as Minister to support them. I'm obviously awaiting the confirmation of my budget going into the next financial year. I've engaged with my executive colleagues around this as well. But as I said during the debate a number of weeks ago in relation to NI water funding, we have to get the balance right. We have to ensure that we recognise the challenges and we take them on head on, but we also have to make sure we don't send out a message that we're not open for business, because we are open for business. And the pre-development engagement process has proven worthwhile for many who have engaged with NI Water, seeking solutions to where there may be constrained areas. So yes, I'm not shying away from the challenges NI Water face. I'm not shying away from the challenges that brings to the economy, but I also want to get a balanced message that we are open for business. Come and talk, and let's see what solutions we can find together.
Ciara Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question 5.
Minister.
With your permission, Mr. Speaker, I will answer questions 5 and 9 together. Decarbonising transport represents the greatest challenge facing our transport network in recent times and will require public authorities and society to rethink our approach to travel. This provides an opportunity to reshape transport to better connect our towns and cities across the island and create healthier and more prosperous communities. To this end, I am working with my officials to bring forward a new transport strategy that I expect to consult on later this year. The strategy will provide an overarching framework to inform the Department's planning and delivery of transport infrastructure and services through to 2035. The strategy will provide a vision for transport that will allow people to choose the most sustainable transport option for their journey, whatever the journey or whatever the purpose of that journey. Central to achieving this vision will be understanding the needs and opportunities within individual communities. For example, creating more sustainable transport options in Newton Arch or Belfast will not be the same as Enniskillen or Ballymoney. This is why my department is working with councils and stakeholders in communities to produce a new suite of local transport plans that are centred on local transport solutions. This will include a focus on improving active travel infrastructure, reflecting our commitment in that area in the Climate Change Act. At the regional level, a new transport plan for the strategic transport network will seek to ensure that people are able to access employment, healthcare and other services and create balanced economic growth across the north. This regional plan will look to improve safety and maximise the potential of our strategic network, particularly for public transport.
Ms Ferguson.
Thank you for the update thus far. Could you also update us on what steps the Department has taken to improve active travel?
Minister.
Yes, my department has actually restructured and created and supported a new unit within my department to ensure that we are ready and up for the task of improving our expenditure on active travel. We are working with local councils in relation to their active travel plans as well, because as the member will be aware, we have to spend up to 10% of our budget moving forward in relation to supporting active travel, which is a very good thing in terms of assisting, though it's not the primary reason for decarbonisation, but it helps improve people's health and mental health and well-being.
Colin McGilligan.
Minister, will the transport plans support city and growth deals?
Minister.
The simple answer is yes, as they're an integral part of not only the funding mechanism, but it's a great way again of working with local councils. And through the local development plans of councils as well, you have, as the members are only too acutely aware, you have a local democratic forum in regards to local council who knows their community better than anyone. So it's working in conjunction with the local councils through their growth deals to ensure that we maximise both investment and the progress made towards ensuring that we have a transport system which is fit for the challenges of this century and the next one moving forward.
John Stewart.
Minister for his answer so far. Within the transport strategy, obviously we want to see more decarbonisation of private cars, Minister. What plans have you got to introduce more electrical vehicle charging points around the country and factor that into the strategy, given that it's one of the biggest impediments to people buying electric vehicles at this moment in time?
Minister.
Electric charging points in this jurisdiction is a commercial project and driven forward by the commercial sector, and I know that there's several companies involved in that. My department does engage with them in terms of ensuring that there is an understanding of our planning system, that we overcome hurdles where we can, etc. Obviously, each planning application has to be taken on its own merits, etc. But in terms of funding, etc., my department simply doesn't have the funding to do it. But we are working with and encouraging the commercial sector to move forward with this programme.
Daniel McCrossan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question 6, Minister.
Since coming into office, I have made several statements in relation to the A5 and quite rightly been questioned about progress in relation to the A5. My department received the final advisory report from the Planning Appeals Commission on the 31st of October 2023 in relation to the latest public inquiry on the project. I am fully briefed on the current progress and also upon the advisory recommendations of the PAC. My officials are working at pace in regards to detailed consideration of these recommendations, and I hope to be able to make an announcement on the project in the coming months. When I make my announcement, I will do so in accordance with all the relevant statutory procedures and on the basis of all the evidence, representations and advice which I have received from officials and from statutory agencies north and south, and also from members of the public and from all other bodies which have participated in the process to date. I will intend to release the content of the PAC report in full, together with my department's response to each of the PAC's recommendations at the same time as of my announcement.
Daniel McCrossan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for that answer. Minister, I know you will join with me in offering your condolences to the family of Una Burns, who from Strabane died last week on the A5. There's now 50 people have died since 2007. I know you agree that delays are leading to further deaths. Can you update the House as to what is delaying the publication of this report, given it has been 6 months since it has been handed to the Department?
Minister.
I do share the condolences with the latest victim of the A5, and my responsibility in this matter bears heavily upon me, I can assure the member. The report, as I've said many times, is complex and detailed, and every line of that report will be scrutinised against my decision and against my recommendation moving forward. So I want to be assured beyond reasonable doubt that my officials and I and legal advice have gone through that line by line and are assured that I'm living up to my statutory obligations before making any further announcement. Because I think the worst thing we can do for those who have lost their lives and their families on the A5 and the communities that use the A5 is to make it an announcement which is then overturned in the courts. So my intention is, I know it's taking time and it's frustrating and I understand that, but I want to get this one right.
Declan McAleer.
I thank the Minister for his response. And the Minister will be more than aware that this project has been delayed by legal challenges, and sadly legal challenges have resulted in delays which have cost lives no later than last week. Is the Minister and his department expecting any further legal challenges to this project?
Minister.
I expect so, but I want those, if there is legal challenges being brought against me, I want them to be there to be a robust defence in place against those legal challenges. Everyone has right to access to the courts to present their case. I understand the concerns of some within the farming community. As I've said in this House before, I'm from a rural community myself. I understand that growl between the farmer and his land or their land. But I use the example of the A4, and I spoke to a farmer who lost a significant amount of land there. He said to me, at the time I was opposed to it, but now I'm proud that I did it, because since the A4 has been opened, there's been 2 lives lost, which is too many. But when you think of the death toll on that road beforehand, that farmer says, I'm proud that I helped save those lives.
Jim Allister.
The Minister's effusive endorsement of the project since coming to office, has he not prejudiced his ability to bring objectivity and independence to the ministerial decisions that he will be required to make?
Minister.
The A5 has been a long-standing commitment of the Executive, both in previous programme for governments and under its flagship project. My decision-making process has to be about, is the current plan for the A5 meet all of my statutory obligations? And that's what I'm studying at the moment. I can't just simply make a decision and say, yes, because it's a flagship project or because it's this, it can go ahead. It has to meet all the statutory obligations under which I operate, and that's why I'm taking my time and being careful, going through it line by line to ensure that when I do make my announcement, that it is a sound basis upon which to do so.
Move to topical questions. Kilmark Durkin.
Will the Minister consider the rollout of a residence parking scheme in the Rosemount, Glen and Strand area of Derry in and around McGee campus of Ulster University?
I'm aware of the concerns about parking in residential areas vicinity of colleges and universities such as McGee campus of Ulster University. A review of residence parking schemes, which include lessons learned from the Rugby Road scheme in the vicinity of Queen's University, Belfast, has been completed. The review will be used to establish the policy for such schemes going forward. The reports will be published when I've had the opportunity to fully consider the findings of the review.
Mark Durgan.
I thank the Minister for his answer. I'd understood that no scheme in Derry would be progressed until the one in the Bogside had been, and parking in this area continues to be a problem. In fact, it becomes more of a problem. Does the Minister not agree with me that it's unwise and unfair to delay progress on any and all residence parking schemes because of difficulties progressing the particular one in the Bogside?
Minister.
That wouldn't be my view of the situation now. I'm happy to be corrected or not, even later on by officials, wherever it may be. My position in relation to God bless you. My relation to residence parking schemes is that we have to move forward with best practice. And while on the face of it they seem like a very good idea, and in many instances they will be a very good idea, there are costs associated with them, both for my department and possibly for the residents. There is, even in terms of how you lay out the scheme, how many cars is allowed to park for one house, etc., etc. So it's not as simple a proposal as it sounds on the outset, but there is lessons to be learned here in this review, and I commit to the member that I will respond in due course to that.
Connie Egan.
Minister, NI Water recently completed £4 million worth of improvements to Brompton wastewater pumping station. Why then is there noticeably more sewage going into the sea, and how will you address this?
Minister.
I'm not aware of the specifics in relation to the issue the member raises, but the member will be aware, and there has been some discussion in recent times in regards NI Water's funding, its discharge, how and when it can discharge from its sewage works. It can discharge when the system is overflown or overcome with rainwater and from the drains, etc. So I don't know which incidents, or many instances there has been in that case. I'm more than happy to follow up with the member. But in simple, we need to continue to invest in our wastewater treatment works. We need to ensure that we're meeting all our environmental obligations, and that's a huge challenge for my department and the Executive.
Ms Egan.
Thank you, Minister. Part of the concern is that we actually don't know what volume of sewage is being discharged and the duration of the discharges. When will you install eventuation monitors into wastewater treatment works?
As part of the capital plan going forward for NI Water, there is approximately 700 monitors going to be installed, and they are going to be targeted at obviously reservoirs and swimming areas as well. So they are starting to be rolled out, and it will give us a better picture of where the challenges are and where the incidents have been moving forward. But we want to get to a point where discharges are less frequent than they currently have. That will require separation of foul water systems and drainage systems, etc., which is a huge investment. We have started on that, but we have a long, long way to go.
Ms Hargey is not in her place. I call Colm Gildernew.
Minister, can you outline the benefits of reduced hedge trimming and grass cutting at this time of year for biodiversity?
Minister.
The benefits are huge, and while my department will continue to ensure that hedges and grass is cut at verges for road safety reasons, we have adopted a new policy from the previous time I was in this department, where we are now encouraging and allowing grass and flowers and biodiversity to thrive at our road verges. Just before I came down to the chamber, I took a walk outside. If any members have an opportunity to walk around the perimeter of this building, I think the Assembly Commission have adopted a similar policy here. And if you see the range of wildflowers and grasses that are now growing on the front lawn, which used to be trimmed like a snooker table, it's far more attractive and effective for biodiversity than it was previously.
Mr. Gildernew.
Thank you. And Minister, will you therefore launch a campaign to promote the benefits of biodiversity with the wider public?
Sure.
Yes, and when my department was developing this programme, we engaged with Ulster Wildlife and will continue to do so. And as one of the members have said, what about the weeds? Yes, there is a balance to be got in all of this, but I think when the public understand why grass verges are growing, that it's not simply there's no money, they aren't doing it, saying politicians you couldn't trust them. When they understand that it's about protecting and encouraging the biodiversity, not only in rural but also in urban settings, then I think the public will be behind us on it.
Kate Nigel.
Mr. Speaker, Minister, you might be aware that there was a serious road traffic collision on the Ballynahinch Road in Carryduff at the weekend. Will the Minister commit to a renewed road safety assessment here and consider traffic calming and road safety measures, including ones that look at traffic speeding, please?
Minister.
Again, another tragedy on our roads, and my deepest sympathies to the family of the man who lost his life. My section office, or the section office, are looking at that spot to see if there is a way to improve safety for pedestrians and for other road users. There are challenges on it. I think that it's quite a narrow footpath, and it may be a challenge in relation to disability access, etc. But they have taken a look at that. Obviously, the PSNI will have to investigate the cause of the accident and do their duties. They will also provide us with a report at that stage, which my officials will also learn from moving forward.
Ms. Nicholl.
Thank you, Minister. The incident I was actually referring to was a young woman who didn't lose her life, so it was another accident, but it was very harrowing for the family. And I think that we need to look at how we improve all measures. So just to follow up, and I welcome that you are looking at this. In terms of improving other connectivity within the area, specifically cycling, the cyclists from Carryduff to Belfast are very nervous cycling. Is this something you can look at improving too, please?
Minister.
Yeah, and apologies, I mistaken the incident. Yes, obviously promoting active travel is vitally important moving forward. Both I have a legal obligation to do it, but I also think I have a moral obligation to do it, and cycleways are an ideal way of doing this. It's like any change, sometimes they bring challenge. And you have to convince the communities who live along the route, other road users, and also sometimes you have to engage with landowners to bring forward new routes, new greenways, or whatever it may be. So yes, I'm committed to doing that, and we will continue to work with local elected representatives and the local council as well to improve that.
Orla Flynn.
I can't call you. Can I ask the Minister for an update on the Greenway scheme in West Belfast, please?
Minister.
There's a number of schemes progressing in Belfast, and again, some are at more advanced stage than others. Just 1 second, I'll give you the detail of those. Design work is ongoing for the majority of schemes in the Belfast Cycling Network short-term list for delivery by the end of 2025. Designs of schemes need to go through to be thorough if we want to deliver the highest quality active travel infrastructure. A number of schemes, for instance, are at Ravenhill Road, Dublin, and Botanic Avenue, South Belfast, Lagmore Avenue Greenway in West Belfast, which the member will be aware of, Island Street and Sydney Greenway proposes in East Belfast, Limestone Road, Cave Hill Road, and other connections from North Belfast into the city. Working in conjunction with local communities and the councils, I'm confident that we can move all these forward.
Ms Flynn.
Thanks very much, Minister. And does the Minister agree with me that the active travel initiatives have positive mental health benefits for people as well as physical health?
Minister.
Without a doubt, and it's been proven over and again, and it's one of those areas where I think there's health is a collective responsibility, in my opinion, for the executive. And while much of the focus, understandably, is on acute and primary care, if my departments can assist in improving the quality of life for citizens, then there's more chance of those people not needing acute or primary care. And improving people's mental health through active travel has been proven beyond doubt.
Question 7 is withdrawn. I call Mr Buckley.
Mr Speaker, already in this question time we've heard many examples of sadly tragic incidents on our roads, particularly in 2024, with some multi-persons losing their lives in single collisions. I'm sure this is a grave concern to the Department, and with figures in 2023 showing 69 deaths on our roads compared to 55 in 2022, has the Minister and the Department reassessed potential initiatives to improve safety on our roads?
Minister.
Yes, I hope to be able to bring a road safety strategy, a renewed road safety strategy to the Executive in the next number of weeks, perhaps going into the second month. But the member is right, and he's right to highlight this. There is an increase in people losing their lives on the road. There has been an increase in not only multi-fatalities, but also single incidents where people are losing their lives. And I would appeal to all road users, whether you're a driver, you're a cyclist, you're a motorcyclist, you're a pedestrian, to be conscious that every action you take on the road will define your fate or somebody else's fate. And if you take the wrong decision, then you or somebody else may not go home.
John Buckley.
Thank you, Minister, and it's certainly something that this House is united on to try and ensure that we can minimise those incidents on our roads. I particularly think of some of the very effective advertisement campaigns that the Department have had in times past that have really showed the harrowing impacts of unsafe driving on our roads. Has the Minister given consideration to perhaps increasing the number of these advertisements? There seems to be a decline. Perhaps he could make comment.
Minister.
I am discussing this matter with my officials. Unfortunately, due to budget constraints, the very effective road safety adverts that were on our televisions haven't been as frequent as they would have been previously. One of the engagements, or part of the engagement we had with my officials, is what's the most effective forum to use or platform to use in terms of advertising, and particularly for young people who are very vulnerable on our roads, both as drivers, as pedestrians, as cyclists, whoever it may be. Digital is probably the most effective way of doing that. So I am currently talking to officials as to how we can launch an advertising campaign across social media to ensure that we're getting the message to those who are most vulnerable on our roads.
Deborah Erskine.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his answers today. MOTs is still an issue within the public and trying to get an appointment. You remember in this chamber on the 11th of March you said that you have asked your officials to bring forward urgent consideration of options, including the introduction of temporary exemption certificates and biannual testing. Can you let me know the timeline of when we expect to see that?
Minister.
Thank the member for a question. I intend to make a statement to the Assembly before the end of this month in that regard.
Ms Erskine.
I thank the Minister. I look forward in earnest to seeing that. Could he also indicate as well, Hydebank has been hailed as one of the places going to ease some of the backlogs. I'm not so sure on that. Can he give a timeline of when that will actually be opened?
Minister.
I think when we do get Hydebank opened, it will assist in tackling the backlog, but we have to get Hydebank opened. But my officials are still engaging with the company who has installed the equipment in Hydebank to ensure that it meets the requirements and is safe to use. So I certainly won't be signing off on it until I'm satisfied that the contract has been fulfilled, that those engagements are continuing.
Declan McAleer, 1 minute.
Minister, have you considered asking the British Government to contribute towards the final cost of the A5 dual carriageway project?
Minister.
I have, yes, and it is mentioned in the UK connectivity report, and I think there's a huge opportunity there for the British Government to improve connectivity, not only across this island but between these islands and various ports, etc. So I have engaged, my officials are engaging. I will be meeting with the UK Transport Minister, I think it's next month, and one of the things I put on the agenda is can they contribute to the A5 if and when we sign off on it.
That concludes questions to the Minister for Infrastructure. We now move back to the previous debate, and if members would take their ease whilst we change the table.